please do so. And that is it. And we are also starting a new series. And man, this series is going to be, well, it's going to be good, but it's going to be challenging because, as we went through, death for life, and we were really looking at the radical aspect of Jesus and what he did to bring us into a place where we can receive salvation, right? And everything Jesus did as he walked, as he talked, as he taught, his miracles, and ultimately what he did on the cross was totally different. I mean, it was radical, like radical. It went against what most people thought they knew. And the more we know about how Jesus walked, the more we know about our walk, because what we're going to see is Jesus said, "Follow me." And so, I was actually worked a while just to come up with a title for this because it was important for me. It's like, how do you capture the essence of what God has put on my heart? And to me, this radical difference is what came to mind, because that's what we're called to. And that's what we're going to learn about as we go through this series. But ultimately, the radical difference comes at a cost for all of us. It really does. And I think it's important to be reminded, what Jesus says about being a disciple. And some of the things he says could be a little uncomfortable, right? But what I do know is that challenge is good, right? Is challenge good? I mean, I know maybe some of you are like, I don't like it. But who grew in any area because of challenge? Right? I mean, it's a good thing. If there's nothing to challenge where you are, how do you get better? Or how do you know that a standard is bigger than what you're experiencing or higher, right? Challenge is good. And challenge establishes a level that requires us to make a change to get there, right? In anything. And so the challenge that will come through this, I know will produce in each of us, I pray through the Holy Spirit, a desire to grow, but a desire, not just desire, but conviction to see the things in our lives that probably just need to be changed or thrown away for the goodness of God, for the glory of Jesus, and for the life that is found in him. And so I thought a good place to start would be in Luke 14, and starting in verse 25. It says, "Now great multitudes went with him." Okay, so yes, people were following Jesus. They didn't know quite what this guy was all about, but they were curious enough to go, I want to follow this guy, listen to this guy, see what he's going to do next. There's something special about him. And so he turned and said to them, "Thank you for being here. Thank you for giving me of your time." He goes, "No, if anyone comes to me and does not hate his father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, and his own life, he cannot be my disciple." So let's slow this down. Maybe many of you have heard this. And I think sometimes we could hear stuff enough and we can lose the impact of what was being said. But if you slow it down and say, wait a second, imagine we are that crowd that was following him. We don't know the end. We don't totally know everything about who Jesus is, but we're very curious. We're very intrigued. He's different. And he's not just saying it to the 12. He's saying it to the multitude, right? And he turns around and he says, now listen, we're all just sitting there. Oh, what's he going to say? Okay. Oh, man. All right. He's looking at us. Okay. I'm the anyone. If anyone comes to me, meaning if anyone wants to follow me and does not hate his father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, and yes, his own life, he cannot be my disciple. I would have been like, well, I'm out. This is radical, hard to understand. So we need to, what is he saying? Because it's very important, because he says, without this, you can't really be my disciple. Do you know what disciple means? a pupil, a learner. Unless you have this mindset, you can't learn from me. Why? Well, we're going to see. Now, what did God say in terms of, it says, honor your father and, one more time, honor. So would Jesus contradict that and say, hate them? No. Jesus is using hyperbole to establish a mindset that says the greatness of your allegiance to me looks as if you hate other relationships that are very important to you. Meaning that is the level of allegiance and commitment that you have to me, that all others pale in comparison. It's like love and hate, the extreme opposite. So he is saying, and notice he didn't say friends and just, coworkers or distant relatives. He took some of the most precious relationships in our lives, right? And said, you have to hate them in comparison to your love for me. You may have a tendency to be driven and to make decisions based on their voice and then your own voice. So you have to be able to say, I hate this and I hate that in terms of its influence. Because this is what you need to be my disciple. You cannot learn from me and follow me unless you are willing to say, all for you, Lord, all for you. It doesn't matter what their voice says. It doesn't matter what my own voice says. I am saying no to those until I know that your will, your way, your truth, your commands trump everything else. That's the only way we can learn. He goes, okay, I don't want to get ahead of myself. But when he says, if anyone comes to me, it was very familiar. He's using the same phrasing as if you were saying, follow me. And see, it wasn't just in the New Testament. You find it even in the Old Testament because God is consistent. And so let's look at 1 Kings 18:20. So Ahab sent for all the children of Israel and gathered the prophets together on Mount Carmel. Now, Israel was involved in some, idolatry, literal idolatry. They were worshiping Baal. And also doing a little bit of what God wanted, but a lot of what Baal wanted. So now God is calling them to the carpet. And so, and Elijah, now he came to all the people and he said, how long, listen to this, how long will you falter between two opinions, two ways, two allegiances? If the Lord is God, follow him, come after him with everything that you are. But if Baal, follow him. But the people answered not a word. But do you see the command to come after God, to follow God, was like, stop wavering, stop the hybrid. Stop giving yourself to two different ways. One is death, one is life. He goes, but if you believe that I am God, truly God, he's like, follow me with all that you are. Stop wavering. Stop being in the middle. It's the same thing Jesus is saying. He's like, if you want to follow me and be my disciple, you can't be in the middle and serve man and serve me. You can't have allegiance to the things of man, to the relationships of this world and me. He's like, I have to be the biggest voice, the strongest voice, and your life has to be committed in a way that says all of me is given to you. So, not fun to hear. But he's making a point. It's a radical mindset. It's a very radical mindset. And we have to deal with what Jesus said, right? Now, it's not and so now it gets worse. It gets worse. Then he says, now, and whoever does not bear his cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. Trust me, the impact of that statement would be a lot heavier because we don't see people crucified. You know what I'm saying? This was commonplace. It was done publicly. The bodies were left out in public to be a deterrent because it was horrifying, right? They understood what he meant, the depth and the weight of what he was saying, because part of the execution was often the criminals carrying the beam on their shoulders to the place of their crucifixion. And it was heavy and it was burdensome, but what they knew, it was a one-way ticket. There was no coming back. The end was death. So once you're carrying the cross, your fate is sealed, right? So when he is saying that, and whoever does not bear his cross and then come after me, knew what he was saying. And it's not really fun to hear. Couldn't he have used something better in terms of motivating his people? But why is Jesus saying this? Think about it. Why is he saying to everyone that wanted to be a disciple, if whoever does not bear his cross, come after me, he can't be my disciple. You can't learn from me. You literally can't really follow me because what I require and my ways are so against your sinful nature and what you're used to. You won't be able to do it. You have to be willing to accept who you are without him. And that it is worth saying no to in order to follow. But he promises a lot in terms of following, right? But Jesus was not sugarcoating anything here. And he would say it multiple times, right? Well, I'll read it to you. Luke 9:23. Then he said to them all, if anyone desires to come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. So for whoever desires to save his life, to have a hybrid, will lose it. But whoever loses his life for my sake will actually, what? Save it. Thank goodness. Yeah. For what profit to a man if he gains the whole world and is himself destroyed or lost? So any questions? It's almost like I should say, you all go read these this week and meditate on them, and then we'll come back. Do you dismiss it? Like, what do we do with this? This isn't one we're going to go, rah, rah. It's like, oh my goodness gracious. Trust me. I mean, I'm like going, all right, Lord, this is where we got to go. This is where we got to go. But I think what I believe is somehow when church as a whole just became institutionalized, it's like doing the religious thing somehow became it. You know, it's like, I'm okay as long as I do this. And I'm not saying, I'm just saying there's something in our culture where this feels like the depth of what it means, the weight of what it means to follow Jesus is lost. It's like it's like almost like an accessory. And I'm seeing this. I'm seeing it. And I'm not saying it's everybody, but I'm seeing a very strong pattern of proclaiming, I'm a follower, but nothing says it. And the world is still accepting. You know, and Jesus obviously demonstrated this and lived this. And eventually, he sacrificed himself. Jesus didn't just say this and not do it. He did everything the Father said to do, right? Perfect obedience. So he's saying, I live this way. So if you're not willing to die to self and to die to things of the world, see, you actually can't be my disciple because I'm showing you what it looks like. And that's why I'm saying this is like a setup of a mindset before we go into this series, because it really is important. Like I had to deal with this too. It's like, all right, Lord, okay, I'm not fully there. But that's okay. Thank God for grace, right? But now watch though. This is what he says. I love this. He goes, so for which of you, Now he's still talking to the multitudes. After he just said all of that, now they're sitting there going, how do I get out of here without being noticed? Or they're wrestling with it. Now he's like, oh, listen, but for what you view, which is talk everyday life, intending to build a tower. Now I say house, okay? No, none of us are building a tower. Does not, watch this, sit down first and count the cost. Notice what he said. Sit down, take some time, and literally count the cost. I feel the cost gets missed. The cost can get missed. And then people wonder why their lives haven't changed. Right? Because the cost maybe wasn't taught, understood. And so they get so far, but they're like, nothing's changed. But it's like, because you're still yourself and you're still listening to yourself. And he says, whether he has enough to finish it. Lest after he has laid the foundation and is not able to finish, all will see it and begin to mock him, saying, nice half tower. Call that a tower? Looks like a shed. Okay. This man began to build and was not able to finish. Or what king going to war against another king does not sit down first and consider whether he is able with 10,000 to meet him who comes against him with 20,000? What king win it? Like, sit down and go, can we win this? Can we do this? Let me look. Let me think. Let me consider. Let me make decisions based on the reality to see if I have enough to win. Or else, while the other is still a great way off, he sends a delegation and asks conditions of peace. So likewise, whoever of you, watch this. So he goes, so saying all this, likewise, whoever of you does not forsake all that he has, he cannot be my disciple. He's like, there's the cost. Forsake, I like this. To renounce, that's one way of saying it. I like this. Bid farewell, that's more polite. Goodbye, self. Ta-ta. It's been wonderful, but you're no longer appreciated. Take leave or send away. So, the cost for us to examine, is there anything in us that we aren't willing to say no to in order to be obedient? I mean, that's our cost. Are we willing to lose for the sake of Jesus? Are we willing to lose reputation, comfort, right? Friends? Are we willing not to be the most popular? Are we willing to be made fun of? Are we willing to maybe disrupt the family? Oh. Are we willing to be able to say and do things in honor or in obedience that look so foreign to even the people that we love, that it may hurt them, but you know you're being obedient, right? And sometimes the strongest influence comes from our inner circle of people. But he's saying, take some time. Are you willing to follow me in a way that says, everything you say, I will do? I am willing to give the life that I know, to lay it down, to follow you. See, Jesus knew, and he knows the sin issue, right? He dealt with the sin issue so that we could have the Holy Spirit and actually have the hope of true transformation. But he's saying, ultimately, here's the challenge. This is what it really takes. If you want to grow, if you want to become more of who you are in me, what I died for, this is what it's going to take. And that's a lifetime, though, right? We're all learning how to say yes and no. This doesn't happen overnight, but Jesus still established the standard, right? But sometimes we can forget what that standard is. So the question I'm asking myself and all of us should ask ourselves is, how much do we desire to walk in obedience to Jesus over our own desire for what we have now? What are we willing to risk in order to say yes? Yeah, I mean, I'm like, grace. But maybe a lot of us have come to a wall and feel like we're not learning anymore. It's like, because you can't, because you're still about you. You're still about you. You're still about what you want. You're still about your understanding. You're still about pleasing and doing and listening to others above me. You can't learn anymore. You've reached it. So it's like a really healthy challenge. But it's hard. Thank goodness for grace. But what will get you through is asking yourself, self, do I want to follow differently? Do I want to do as Jesus commands and believe what he says about life, about fullness, about peace, about a different type of life than what the world offers? And do I want that enough? Or do I want a hybrid and stay where I am? Do I want to keep doing the same things over and over again and expecting a different result? As you know, that's the definition of crazy. Right? Yeah. Watch this. Matthew 7:24. Different way of saying it, but saying the same thing. Parable. Therefore, now watch this. Whoever, what's this word? Hears. He's talking to people that have heard the word. Hear it. But there's a choice of what you want to do with it, right? Hears these sayings of mine and what? Does them. Does them. I will liken him to a wise man who built his house on the rock. A firm foundation, a solid, immovable foundation. And the rain descended, the world came at them, the floods came and the winds blew, and it beat on that house. And it did not fall. It might have been damaged, but it didn't fall. Because it was founded on what? A stability that can't be moved. Here's the promise. This is what you like. So you can hear it, but it's up to you to do it. But when you're doing it, what you're doing is establishing a foundation that prevents a total collapse. Because watch this. But everyone who what? Hears. So he's not talking to people who have not heard the good news. He's talking to people that have heard it. He's talking to people that have grown up in church. He's talking to people that maybe go to church every week. They learn and 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 they learn, but they ain't doing. Because it's too hard. Or they might lose this. Or they might ruffle some feathers and they may... Yeah. So who hears these sayings of mine and does not do them will be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. Probably, look at this, same house, same model, right? Same materials to build the house, okay? They're doing the same thing. They're building a life. They're building a house. But what matters is the foundation. And the rain descended, the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house. And then what? It fell, and great was its fall. And then that's why some people of faith can say, why is God doing this to me? My life is ruined. Everything is just shattered and crumbled and fallen to the ground. Well, let's look at what you built on. I mean, Jesus is really getting to the heart of this life and how easy it is to get distracted and move and get off course. And then sometimes life does happen. But why did the house fall? Because it was made with cheaper materials? No, because the foundation was lacking, right? That's what I mean. We all can come in here and say all the right things and hear all the same things, right? And we're building and we're given like the vision or the illusion, or just we're presenting ourselves in a way to say, see, I'm building just like you're building. I'm believing what you're believing, and I'm saying all the Christianese stuff, and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. But really, when we go out and don't, the foundation is totally different, and time will show. So he's getting to the heart of like what it is to make a personal decision every day. And so he goes, and so it was when Jesus had ended these sayings that the people were astonished at his teaching, for he taught them as one having authority, which is important to understand, and not as scribes. There was something inherently different about when Jesus preached that had authority that said, no, I'm in a place to say, do it like this. Or scribes just repeated one another. They borrowed from one another. They all kind of taught the same thing. There was no authority. It was just instruction. Jesus came, flipped a lot of things upside down, and the things he said were so radical, but he said it with such confidence. They're like, okay, there's something different about I don't like what he's saying, but there's something very different about it. We have to remember when Jesus is saying something, he's saying it from a place of authority, not a buddy. That's the one danger of making Jesus your buddy. You rob him of authority. Yes, he says, I'm a friend, but not the type, it's a friend. It's like, no, I'm not letting you go that route, right? I'm ultimately above you. You need to listen to me. It's like, I remember, anyone ever worked with someone that was a friend, but also your boss? It's awkward. And I remember this place I worked, I was friends and actually performed with a guy who was my friend, but then in this place, he was a manager. And sometimes, even with all of us, this was so stupid. He would put on a hat and he goes, this is my manager hat, so you know that you have to listen to me now. Like he literally had to put on a hat. Speaking as a boss now, not your friend. I'm like, dude, that makes me want to not do what you're saying. As a friend, I'm telling you, that's ridiculous. But it's that same thing. No, Jesus he has authority over our lives. But he's giving us the choice. He goes, this is my way, but you have a choice what to do with it. Now, we have a decision to do with his word. We have the decision what to do, right? Every single one of us today. Like I said, this is more establishing a foundation, but it gives us a chance this week to count the cost and say, all right, Lord, what does this look like? Because we're going to go through you don't just do this overnight. But we can't get away from, Jesus said, no, unless you are willing to hate in comparison to your love for me, right? Like there's no influence that should come from the people actually that you appreciate. And self, right? Die to self. So that takes everything else into consideration. Your motivations, your goals, your desires, right? Everything the world has to offer, right? He's like, everything the self is wanting, he's like, you got to be willing to lay that down and say, anything for you, Lord. That means if I have to say no and possibly lose everything, I'm going to do it so I can learn and walk and follow. But it's so easy to get distracted. Come on, please, yes? Every generation has dealt with it. I mean, Jesus is like actually talking to these people knowing that it's so easy to get wrapped up again in self, right? Because that's all we have. I mean, we're born, we can't get away from it. It's so easy now, you know what I mean? It's like so easy to leave here, yes, and then all of a sudden just forget. There's so many things being presented to. All right, hold on. This. I mean, and maybe some of you don't, but come on. This is just a good example. I mean, this is access to everything, right? Everything. It's right here. We can distract ourselves or encourage ourselves through the things of the world or feed ourselves, right? Let me see here. Oh, Fox News. Let me see what this has to say. Oh, now I'm angry. Now let me look at Facebook real quick. Oh, they liked it. That's nice. I feel so good. Oh, they hearted it. Oh my goodness. What's with that hair? Oh, they've changed. Wait, hold on. Did the Nuggets win last night? I guess so. Let me see. Okay. All right. Oh, yeah. 116 and 105. Oh, here's an article. I mean, it's a little awkward, but this is kind of like, well, I just don't have time. You know what I mean? I'm going to text them. Oh, I see the dots. That's a lot of dots. What's going on? Okay. Janelle just texted me. How did you do on the mini? We played this mini crossword. Haven't played yet. I'm preaching. Laughy face. So she knows I'm joking. This is what we live in. Mm-hmm. And it's like, then you see what Jesus says. It's tough, and we're going to learn the lie. I mean, Jesus gave, life is beautiful. Life is a gift. But he's saying the world and the enemy in this world is actually trying to destroy you and will use everything. He will use people, he'll use family, he'll use distraction, he'll use whatever it is to gain influence over your decision making. And then all of a sudden we have this hybrid. Hybrid doesn't do it. Hybrid only can do so much, right? But yet we have to look. I mean, so in John 10, now we get, okay, now this feels a little more like warm milk. Like we love reading what the good, like the nice stuff, the easy stuff to digest. But it says, then Jesus said to them again, most assuredly, I say to you, I am the door of the sheep. All whoever came before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not hear them. I am the door. Listen to this. If anyone enters first by me, because Jesus is, right, the only way, truth, and the life. So if you believe in him, receive him as Savior, Lord, King, you enter now into a whole different existence, right? So he says, he will be saved, right? So there's that. And then he says, now, saved, now we'll go in and out and find pasture. Some of us don't find that pasture because we're still, right, wavering. We haven't counted the cost. Maybe we never even heard the cost. But you have to ask yourself, is it worth it? How bad do you want the tower? Right? So the thief, the enemy, does not come to except to steal and to kill and to destroy. And it will use a voice. And the hope is that we will recognize the voice and not listen, because the sheep know the voice of the shepherd. That's the hope through all of this, the series, that we discern his voice more and more. Because he goes, I have come that they may have what? But he said, hate your life, remember? So what's he saying? I've come that you can have life and that they may have it more what? but you got to hate your life to get that life. What? This is crazy talk. No, it's not. The life you knew and the life in me. Oh, the life dictated by sin and self, or the life dictated by me as authority and king. You know, that he's like they're diametrically opposed. And you have to recognize that. Sometimes we can't get over ourselves. I am the good shepherd. Watch this. The good shepherd actually gives his life for the sheep. So he's like, I'm not asking anything of you that I'm not going to do and demonstrate for you. For the joy set before him, he endured the cross. For the life that would be found by all who put their faith in him. That was the joy. But Jesus was very clear, right? And I think all of us, I think the reality is, yes, we come into a place like this and all of us are kind of showing that we're building the same house. But man, God knows the foundation, right? I mean, in this room, there could be a lot of just justified, continual, habitual sin, and you're okay with it. And it's justified, right? You're totally okay with it. Or you make excuses for it. Or you're too afraid to let it go. And he's like, yeah, great. But you know what? You can't learn from me. Unless you're willing to look at that and say, no, Lord, I give you my life and I trust you and I'm willing to say no. Right? You are what I gain. You are what I gain. Jesus is not a political platform. Jesus is Jesus, right? Jesus is Jesus. He's not of the things of man. He is of the things of the kingdom. Man will let you down. Parties will let, everything will let, he's like, so he has to say, so if you're justifying hate because of politics, you're missing it. I mean, really, we're in a place now where there's such a mix. And what people are seeing is hate come from the church, justified by politics, or people who are politicians saying, I believe in Jesus, but everything out of their mouth is gross. And that's what the world is seeing. I'm sorry, this is a side note, but it's really making me mad. To see these politicians use Jesus as leverage, but their lives do not reflect it. But that is what people are seeing. Jesus is above that. My shoulder still hurts, but it's as far as I can go. No, I'm just saying we've got to correct our thinking and know what we are fully living for. He loved the unlovable, the despicable, right? The marginalized. And then he died for it. That's what you're called. You may lose friends on both sides of the aisles because of your stance for Jesus. Like, we got to sift out everything that we have made it that it is not and root ourselves in what Jesus said, who was willing to stop and talk with a woman at a well who was a Samaritan, hated, despised, right? Gross. And then the village would come out later and learn from him. And he's like, hey, disciples, the fields are white for harvest. But you're not seeing it, right? So this is going to be hugely challenging. Good. How much are we willing to change? That's the big deal. That's the big question, right? Is God faithful? No, is he? Does he mean that he came for life? No, really. Abundant life? So, what's stopping us? Maybe you're like, well, I'm not. Okay, that's great. But I'm just saying, This is a time for us to really take stock and say, all right, Lord, I'm willing to be and say and do whatever it is that you lead me to say and do. That's if I have to lose everything. And I know that's a radical statement, but it's what he asked. But he's going to fulfill his end. He's never going to leave you, forsake you. He is always with you. He knows what he created you for, right? But see, eyes are opened wider when we begin to say, all right, Lord, I see that I'm giving way too much of my voice influence in others. I don't want us to be a church who does this and goes home and just continues in their way. That's not what I was as a preacher. I don't want that as a man, as a husband, as a father. You know what I mean? What is that reflecting to kids? You know what I'm saying? So they grow up saying, well, we went to church, but I saw my dad doing this every day and justifying it and never apologizing. I saw my mom doing this every day and never apologizing, never taking ownership, right? I saw horrible things, but yeah, we put on our Sunday best. Many of you might have grown up that way. See, that's the detriment of not living in a way that shows, hey, kids, it's hard, but worth it. And I wish I could go back and do it over again, really. But we all could start here, right? And we serve a good God. Let's not forget, he died so you could live this, right? And present you in a way that we're not worthy of, but I want to grow in it, right? So take stock this week. However you take stock, take some time. And don't say I'm too busy, and don't let me catch you somewhere on this. Oh, too busy, huh? Well, actually, Russ, I was going over your sermon notes. Sorry. Sorry, my bad. There's a Bible on here, in case you don't know. So let's do this together, right? Come on, let's grow. You want to grow? I'll get you excited because I know the world will start chirping once you get out of here. Well, let's worship.